Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today I only have two letters in English, both of them. One was written November 17th, 2:15, and the other one was written yesterday, which is November 18th, 2:15. Dear editor, reading between the lines in the Bible and the Holy Quran, you can find more fine prints backing each other in both books than you think. I have few samples, if not examples, to find more verses from the Bible and the Holy Quran that can back each other up. The book of Ezekiel 16 says to us, "Nevertheless, I will remember my covenant with you in the days of your youth." Yet, in the Book of Mormons, Nephi 21, it says, "For in that day, for my sake, shall the Father work a work which shall be great and marvelous work among them. And there shall be among them those who will not believe it, although a man shall declare it unto them." That means that the work of the Son of Man, that has been going on, what have been done in his youth 30 years ago in the mother of all nations, was actually the beginning of God's covenant with him. But in the Holy Quran, Surah Al-An'am, verse 122, and Surah Kaf, verse 44, God says that the Son of Man, meaning Walid wa ma walad, shall have within his message what can expose the criminal acts of the masterminds of evil in the mother of all nations. He will split the ground under their feet, turning them against each other. He will lift the responsibility of revealing their secret society away from the leaders of the world and leaving it all in the hands or the responsibility of telling such truth by that secret society to a work of God through the Son of Man. The born again theory, as well as saying everything is coming back to life in the Bible, is a theory that was stated in the Holy Quran as well. God says in the Holy Quran that man is born, then we shall die, then we come back to life again, and then we shall go back to him again. The Bible, John 16, Jesus says that he will come back, he will go back to God before he tells us the whole truth. Because he says we could not bear it or could not understand it then. He will tell you, or meaning his helper, the whole truth. Jesus meant, if I stayed with you, you could never understand why we are living in hell on this earth while I am still among you, living among you. He could not say that heaven and hell are actually or are God's daily judgment on us through many lives we do live. The Holy Quran says that God present heaven and hell on earth as his 7 solar systems. It is in the Holy Quran that the earth is actually part of a door of heaven that is in our solar system. The Bible says man was created in God's image, and that means different parts or different organs. Yet all are made from the same cells and blood with a unique DNA. Each organ has a unique job to do. They are organs of different ranks. So says God in the Holy Quran. That actually means that God's brain is represented on earth by all prophets, scientists, thinkers, and leaders. So says God in the Holy Quran as well. Yet, some of these cells in God's brain are more important than others. And that should explain why Jesus said, I am God. He is the most important cell in God's brain. So says Jesus. And that's the end of that letter. As for the letter of November 18 to 15, it's a letter for the editor, basically, aimed at the Muslim youth. Dear editor, for the Muslims youth, I say you could never do more than what your parents did to Israel without making peace that allows the West to have the nerve to tell the truth about the Zionist past activities after the Second World War. So says God in the Holy Quran. A smart Muslim young man who feels humiliated and hope to do better for his people than his parents did need to know what God is saying in the Holy Quran in many verses, including Surah Al-Isra, verse 3, or Araf, Surah Al-Araf, verse 137, and many more surahs. Arabs lost Jerusalem to Israel in 1967. And since then, the Israelis were living in a dilemma, if not agony, because of Israel's past history and present power. The Palestinians lost their mind then, till they were kicked out of Jordan in September 1970. Then they were kicked out of Lebanon in 1982. Saddam Hussein of Iraq was hoping to destroy Israel and unite all Arabs. Instead, he found himself fighting the Iranians for 8 years. Then he was found in a cubby hole by one person. So says God in Surah As-Saffat, verse 60. There was what God calls in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 65, the Sabbath war, in which the Arabs attacked the Jews on their Sabbath. Then came negotiations for peace in the Middle East, and that did not amount to much peace. Finally, the Arab Springs came and left all Arabs paralyzed. That and much more happened in one generation, including the birth of many waves of Muslim terrorists. So says the Holy Quran in Al-Sa, Surah, verse 59, as well as other surahs. I believe it is time for God to prove to mankind that your past and ignorance is what you are actually judged by, rather than it is your faith. The Zionist Jews' criminal past must be revealed, and it will not be revealed. It will not be revealed without God fulfilling all his promises to the Jews, as was predicted in all of God's books, including the Holy Quran. The Muslim ignorance in their religion is no less evil than the criminal activities of the Zionist Jews after the Second World War. The Jewish past and the Jewish past criminal activities, and the Muslims' ignorance are two negatives that need to clash for us to see the spark, proving that two wrongs do not make one right. It's that simple. For the Muslim youth, again, I say that jihad for God is knowing what God is saying in the Holy Quran. If you believe that the Holy Quran is God's book and his words, you must believe that there is in it much more what your ancestors did not understand. But now We are intelligent enough to read between the lines and see the fine print in all of God's books. Any Muslim that does not believe that everyone in this world are part of God's body and self, they are God's people, is an infidel. God allowed people to believe in different religions and beliefs and values for reasons of his own. So says God in Surah of Last Supper, verse 3, and many more surahs in the Holy Quran. And thank you.